I take thee at thy word. Call me but love, and I'll be new baptized. Henceforth I never will be Romeo.
What man art thou, that thus be screened in night, so stumblest on my counsel?
By a name I know not how to tell thee who I am. My name, dear saint, is hateful to myself, because it is an enemy to thee. Had I it written, I would tear the word.
My ears have not yet drunk 100 words of that tongue's utterance, yet I know the sound. Art thou not Romeo and a Montague?
Neither, fair saint, if either thee dislike.
Okay, so again, we see Romeo says, fine, if you don't want me to Romeo, no problem. If you call me love, then I won't be Romeo anymore. And then she realizes, oh crap, somebody's here who's been listening to me. And Romeo says he doesn't even know how to tell her who he is because the name is a name that she just likes so much. And this is the whole start of the balcony scene where they're going to exchange their love vows.
How camest thou hither? Tell me, and wherefore? The orchard walls are high and hard to climb, and the place death, considering who thou art, if any of my kinsmen find thee here.
With love's light wings do I o'erperch these walls, for stony limits cannot hold love out, and what love can do that dares love attempt. Therefore thy kinsmen know let to me.
If they do see thee, they will murder thee.
Okay, so Juliet, as we can guess, is kind of excited that it is Romeo, but she's confused how he got there and why he's here. And Romeo says that with love's light wings did I overperch these walls. So basically he's saying love gave him wings. It gave him the strength to do things that he probably wouldn't do. And she's obviously kind of worried because she knows how dangerous it is for him to be here, right? So if her kinsmen see him, kinsmen meaning family or people associated with the Capulet family, she knows they'll kill him. And that's ultimately not something that she wants.
Alack, there lies more peril in thine eye than 20 of their swords. Look thou but sweet, and I am proof against their enmity.
I would not for the world they saw thee here.
I have night's cloak to hide me from their sight. And but thou love me, let them find me here. My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued wanting of thy love.
And so he says, you know what, fine, unless you say you love me, then I'd rather die here, right? My life were better ended by their hate than death prorogued wanting of thy love, than have to wait for death and be in need of your love, right? So he doesn't want to deal with the whole not loving him back anymore. They're being pretty direct, which is not like the times, right? Normally, if you loved somebody, you had to talk to the family first and the whole thing. But here, Romeo is just being straightforward. And unfortunately, even though Juliet would likely need to be a little bit more discreet with her feelings, especially being a woman, she's already kind of given it all away because she was speaking without knowing that he was there.
By whose direction foundst thou out this place?
By love, that first did prompt me to inquire. He lent me counsel, and I lent him eyes. I am no pilot, yet wert thou as far as that vast shore washed with the furthest sea, I would adventure for such merchandise.
So again, we see him talking about how fate's kind of directing him, right? Except in this case, he says it's love. Love lent him counsel, and he gave him his eyes. So he just let love direct him where he would, and that's how he ended up finding Juliet. It was total accident, but because of that, he believes it's fate.
Thou knowest the mask of night is on my face. Else would a maiden blush bepaint my cheek for that which thou hast heard me speak tonight.
So again, now we see how embarrassed she is, right? She says, you would see, if it weren't dark out, that there would be a maiden blush on my cheek for what you just heard. So she had no intention of him knowing what she was just talking about, that she actually loves him.
Fain would I dwell on form, fain deny what I have spoke. But farewell compliment. Dost thou love me? I know thou wilt say aye, and I will take thy word. Yet if thou swear'st, thou mayst prove false. At lovers' perjuries, they say, Jove laughs. O gentle Romeo, if thou dost love, pronounce it faithfully. Or if thou think'st I am too quickly won, I'll frown and be perverse and say thee nay, so thou wilt woo. Renounce not for the world. In truth, fair Montague, I am too fond. And therefore thou mayst think my haviour light, but trust me, gentlemen, I'll prove more true than those that have more cunning to be strange. I should have been more strange, I must confess. But that thou overheardst ere I was ware my true love passion. Therefore pardon me, and not impute this yielding to light love which the dark night hath so discovered.
Okay, so she's kind of upset that he's heard everything, and she wants to know if he loves her too. And at this point, she doesn't really know that he feels the way that we know he does. A little dramatic irony. We know how each of the characters are thinking before they tell us or before they tell each other. And so she's realizing that, she kind of didn't do things in the right order. She's supposed to play hard to get. She's supposed to frown and be perverse, like she says here, and say nay, say no, and like pretend she's not interested. So she'll do all that, but she really doesn't want to because it's too late anyway. He already knows how she feels. And so she's a little worried that he's going to think that she's like kind of too quick to fall into love with him, and that he'll use that to his advantage. And maybe will say he loves her even if he doesn't, just to kind of get what he wants.
Lady, by yonder blessed moon I swear, that tips with silver all these fruit tree tops.
So he starts to say, I swear by the moon. I promise by the moon.
Oh, swear not by the moon, the inconstant moon that monthly changes in her circled orb, lest that thy love prove likewise variable.
And she's like, don't swear by the moon because it's inconstant. The moon changes, right? Think about what the moon does every night. Every night it's in a slightly different place. Every night it's a slightly different shape, and it changes all through the cycle. And she says, don't swear by the moon unless your love is going to be just as variable, is going to be just as inconstant and just as changing.
What shall I swear by?
Do not swear at all. Or if thou wilt, swear by thy gracious self, which is the God of my idolatry, and I'll believe thee.
If my heart's dear love.
Well, do not swear. Although I joy in thee, I have no joy of this contract tonight. It is too rash, too unadvised, too sudden, too like the lightning, which doth cease to be ere one can say it lightens. Sweet good night. This bud of love by summer's ripening breath may prove a beauteous flower when next we meet. Good night. Good night. As sweet repose and rest come to thy heart as that within my breast.
Oh, wilt thou leave me so unsatisfied?
What satisfaction canst thou have tonight?
All right, so she's kind of thinking better of this whole thing. She says, I have no joy in this contract tonight, meaning this I don't want to make any promises tonight, right? This is too fast, too rash, too unadvised, too sudden. And Romeo says, very kind of brashly, wilt you leave me so unsatisfied? And she's like, hey now, buddy, what kind of satisfaction are you going to have tonight? And he's going to cover it up real quick.
The exchange of thy love's faithful vow for mine.
I gave thee mine before thou didst request it, and yet I would it were to give again.
Wouldst thou withdraw it? What purpose, love?
But to be frank and give it thee again. And yet I wish but for the thing I have. My bounty is as boundless as the sea, my love as deep. The more I give to thee, the more I have, for both are infinite. I hear some noise within. Dear love, adieu.
Nurse calls within.
Anon, good nurse. Sweet Montague, be true. Stay but a little, I will come again.
Exit.
Oh, blessed, blessed night, I am afeard, being in night. All this is but a dream, too flattering sweet to be substantial.
Enter Juliet above.
3 words, dear Romeo, and good night indeed. If that thy bent of love be honourable, thy purpose marriage, send me word tomorrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee, where and what time thou wilt perform the rite. And all my fortunes at thy foot I'll lay, and follow thee, my lord, throughout the world.
Within.
Madam, I come anon. But if thou mean'st not well, I do beseech thee.
Within.
Madam, by and by I come. To cease thy suit and leave me to my grief, tomorrow will I send.
Okay, and so she leaves for 30 seconds and all of a sudden comes back with a completely new viewpoint, right? And she says 3 words, dear Romeo, much more than 3 words. But if your bent of love is honorable, if you truly love me, and if you want to marry me, then send me word tomorrow by one that I'll procure to come to thee. She's going to send him a messenger, this one that she'll procure to come to him. And he's going to tell that messenger where and when they'll get married. I mean, that's pretty quick. So she went from saying that it's too rash and too sudden to all of a sudden being like, okay, cool. If you love me and you want to marry me, then I'm going to send a messenger to you. You tell that person when and where, and cool. And then she kind of adds, but if your purpose isn't honorable, if you don't mean well, if you don't really love me, then please just leave me to my grief. But Romeo, totally on board.
So thrive my soul.
1,000 times good night.
Exit.
1,000 times the worse to want thy light. Love goes toward love as schoolboys from their books, but love from love towards school with heavy looks.
Here we have this great simile, right? He says that love goes to love like schoolboys run away from their books, but love leaves love like they go toward school with heavy looks, right? So that joy you get when you get to leave school away is the joy you feel when you get to go towards love, and the opposite is true. When you have to go to school, it's like that feeling when you have to leave love. So he doesn't want to leave right now. But good news, she's not going to leave, because this becomes one of those, no, you hang up, no, you hang up, no, you hang up kind of things.
Retiring slowly. Re-enter Juliet above.
Hist, Romeo, hist! Oh, for a falconer's voice to lure this tassel gentle back again. Bondage is hoarse and may not speak aloud, else would I tear the cave where echo lies, and make her airy tongue more hoarse than mine, with repetition of my Romeo's name.
It is my soul that calls upon my name. How silver sweet sound lovers' tongues by night, like softest music to attending ears.
Romeo,
My dear,
at what o'clock tomorrow shall I send to thee?
at the hour of 9.
I will not fail. 'Tis 20 years till then. I have forgot why I did call thee back.
Let me stand here till thou remember it.
I shall forget to have thee still stand there, remembering how I love thy company.
And I'll still stay, to have thee still forgetting any other home but this.
All right, so she's saying, I don't even remember why I called you back. He's saying, I'll just keep standing here till you remember. And she says, I'll keep forgetting it so you can keep standing here. And it's that whole nobody wants to leave kind of thing. Very much the whole new love thing. But the most important part we got here is that she's going to send a messenger at 9 a.m. So we went from not knowing each other the night before to seeing each other in the middle of the night. That morning before was that last fight. So we're still within that first day of the start of the play of Romeo and Juliet.
It's almost morning. I would have thee gone, and yet no farther than a wanton's bird that lets it hop a little from her hand, like a poor prisoner in his twisted gyves, and with a silk thread plucks it back again, so loving jealous of his liberty.
I would I were thy bird.
Sweet, so would I, yet I should kill thee with much cherishing. Good night. Good night. Parting is such sweet sorrow that I shall say good night till it be morrow.
Exit.
Sleep. Dwell upon thine eyes, peace in thy breast. Would I were sleep and peace so sweet to rest. Hence will I to my ghostly father's cell, his help to crave, and my dear hap to tell.
Okay, and so they exit, and again we get this really famous line, parting is such sweet sorrow. Very famous, obviously, you've probably heard it. And she doesn't want to say goodbye to him, so she wants to just stand there and keep saying goodnight until it's tomorrow. But it is actually almost morning at this point. So she leaves, she goes home, goes to bed for at least a couple of hours, and Romeo says he's going to go to his ghostly friar's cell, which is the next character we're going to meet in this next scene, Friar Lawrence. And Friar Lawrence is kind of like Romeo's confidant. He's the one that Romeo trusts to tell this whole situation to. And he says, his help to crave and my dear hap to tell. So he needs his help, and he's going to tell him the story of what's just happened. And that's the end of Act 2, Scene 2.